All right, welcome back to the little design in chat video with the Pancar Buddy project. So I have settled on an old 70s Lola, which you can see over here in cheesy yellow. It is a T290, although there were various iterations of that car, like there always is. So the reason why I chose this one is I think it encapsulates quite well the proto era of the 70s, and because there were a few iterations that had fast tail or wing, and I saw pictures with 2 or 3 different type of wings, one that were very long at the back, one that were more of a traditional, like on the 260, and some that didn't have any. So I chose that, which allows me to design basically a set for the body that will have different variants. So you see the red lines that I put at the back there is the wing. So my original design idea is to design this car with a wing which is somewhat typical to the shovel bodies for the pan cars, which means it is integrated on the car and it is at the rear and it is fairly aggressive. But you will see when I'm building the body that there is a twist to this actual concept of the wing. So I'm doing a very rough shape. I'm taking all the measurements. The design, the drawing of the car on Illustrator is to scale with the wheelbase of the car, and I have stretched the width of the car to fit the proportion of pan cars. So the body is 210 wheelbase and 170 in width. So you can see I had first drawn the profile of the wheel wells above the wheel, and now I'm drawing the profile without it. So this will be basically the main shape of the car, and then I'm going to reuse the drawing of the wheel wells to add on top of the wheel. So I'm proceeding fairly slowly. I'm trying to get something that is well, let me see how to phrase it. I am not trying to do a 290, but I'm trying to do something that is as close as I can possibly get to it and be generic enough that you can paint it in any livery you like and it won't be weird. So now what I'm working on is the profile, which is going to be cut raised on each side of the car. And of course, this being a vacuum formed body, I need to make sure that I don't have 90-degree angles. So this is going to be extruded off the sides at about between 3 and 5 degree angle, depending on the effect that I want to get. 5 degrees really ideal. Can be a little bit more, but this being really the main part of the body, 5 degrees usually a pretty good angle to get. All right, so let's squeeze a little bit forward to getting a little bit more of the shape of the car. All right, so I have now done the profile of the rear wing for the first set of the car, and I will explain why I mean the first set of the car. And so you can see this is a fairly traditional pan car rear wing, except that it is forward. Usually the curvature, which is the high point for the downforce, is pretty much behind the center of the rear wheel. Mine is in front, which is going to bring it nearer to the body post as well. And this is an area that can remain on the car, or it can be a cutaway part. So if you cut it away, you would have a more realistic look of the pan of the, the Lola. But you will have less downforce. You will have the wind through, so you'll have a certain amount of downforce from the top, but you will have more or less half a fast tail at the rear. If you keep it, you're gonna have a fairly aggressive amount of downforce, because you can see first of all how the body from behind the front wheel, about 3 cm behind the front wheel, all the way to the wing is sloped up. So this is going to give a very progressive downforce at the rear, and then the very aggressive slope of the wing. If you don't cut it away, then you're going to have a really big amount of downforce, pretty much angled to where the wing, the wheels are in contact with the floor at the back. So it should give a really aggressive downforce profile at the rear. And the idea, if you want to keep the body looking realistic, would be to mask it and keep it transparent. And so when you paint it, when you finish painting it, you'd remove the tape and you would still have the look of a wing at the back and an open space. So I think it's gonna still look pretty neat. But because I was struggling with wanting to do both the wing version and the fast tail version, you'll see that I actually, when I split the body in two in order to create the molds later on in the design process, I have decided to actually create two rear end for the car. And that allowed me to do quite a lot of interesting options for the back of the car. So this you will see in the next iteration of in the next series, the next parts of the video series of the car. So now I'm working on placing where the bunny paddle cut is, and this is very important to me because this is going to be the mold line as well for the rear end. So the reason why I chose at the end a 70s Lola is because of those very straight body lines that will make it a very invisible seam when the two pieces are stuck together. Really similarly to the way I've done my 375 for anybody who is familiar with my vintage Ferrari chassis. I've done a similar work in order to have the two big body parts linked seamlessly and without any weirdness visually. So I've done the same here. This vertical line will be the separation between the front and the back parts. They will be attached over there, double-sided taped like they are on my other cars. It is true and tested. It works really, really well. So here you go. I'm now basically stopping the design process to cut the two parts and then reopen and reassemble them. And so you have a very basic shape of the pen car that can be seen, and you can get a good idea of where this is going in the near future. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stop here for the first part of the design of the Lola. Now you know what car I'm doing for the project. It is inspired by a T290. Go take a look online. You search Ford Lola T290. You'll see all the different iterations of the car. It's a really cool looking car, and you can see that there's going to be a lot of cool accessories with the design of this car. Alright, so I'm gonna stop here for today, and I'll see you again next time for more on this little design project. Alright, cheerio!